Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Rapid Done right here on Rapid Television. And of course, right now it's time for the big conversation. My name is Victor Arke.
My name is Martha Alu. Good morning and welcome to the 9 o'clock conversation right here on Rapid Television.
Of course, today on the big conversation, we are putting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 2026 reform scorecard under the spotlight. 3 years into the administration, the federal government has released what it describes as an account of the benefits, costs, and harms prevented by the major economic reforms introduced since 2023. The scorecard focuses on the 25 indicators across five broad areas: the fiscal sustainability, external stability, investment climate, social impact, and growth and productivity. And one of the biggest figures in the report is the 15.8 trillion naira in estimated subsidy savings between June 2023 and December 2025. But the government says that the federal government itself received about 5.4 trillion naira, while 10.4 trillion naira went to states and local governments. And it also says that the federal government had another 3.1 trillion naira in additional revenue and 11.9 trillion naira in additional borrowing, bringing its incremental resources to about 20.4 trillion naira. At the same time, the government puts its additional expenditure pressures during the period about 30.6 trillion naira, including spending on wages, debt service, infrastructure, and other interventions. And so the administration is saying that these reforms have helped strengthen public finances, improve foreign exchange stability, and attract investment and prevent a deeper economic crisis. But the government also accepts that the reforms came with serious costs, including higher prices and, of course, pressure on households and businesses. We are going to be dissecting the scorecard of this administration. And this morning we are joined by Senator Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf, a former lawmaker and an elder statesman. Good morning to you, sir. Welcome to the
Good
conversation.
morning. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Now, we heard Taiwo Idole say that the scorecard covers 25 indicators across the five areas. He talked about fiscal sustainability. He talked about external stability. He talked about investment stability. He talked about social impact and growth and productivity. Right. He also said that the government wanted to show not only what the reforms achieved, but what they caused and what they may have prevented. But looking at the scorecard, looking at the five areas, basically, do you think that the reforms are working here in Nigeria?
That's a good question. Well, thank you very much. I must say, even if they believe the reform is working, it's not working efficiently and it's not working effectively. For the simple reason, right from day one, I've always said that this government has not introduced the fundamentals for effective and efficient running of the governance of this country. Why do I say so? When it came, it embarked on policies that actually ballooned the value of the naira to a state of total massive undervaluation of the naira. And once your currency is undervalued, every other aspect of the economy will feel challenged. That is why when they removed the subsidy and the impact of removal of the subsidy, although they said that they saved about 15 trillion, it's a simple question: where is the 15 trillion? There's total disconnect economically between the federal government and the grassroots. Total disconnect, because you cannot see the 10 billion, the 10 trillion. Where is it? So, my own understanding, I may be wrong, is that this government has actually avoided the good spirit of redistribution of income as outlined by the manifesto of APC. And so long as the value of the country is in the few hands, monopolized by few individuals, and then you have the preponderance of the citizens are in abject poverty, I don't think that government can claim that it's doing better. And the tax reforms that they say, the tax reform actually benefited the rich. That is why the poor of this country is subsidizing the rich. And you cannot have it effectively or efficiently in such a way that you will have a normal growth of the economy. So, in my opinion, yes, they can put in figures, increase in foreign reserves, what do you call it, and then increase in revenue base, and stabilizing, the value of the naira, and what have you, that they are getting it right. For me, it's not the direction that they ought to have taken. The direction they ought to have taken was to build a system based on effective fundamentals.
Okay.
So, actually, I sympathize with the Minister of Finance. What can he say? Whether you like it or not, if you are in government. For instance, I'm a member of APC, and sometimes I feel reluctant to say, what I'm saying, but because the truth of the matter is that the government has not effectively put forward for the benefit of the generality of the Nigerian people. So it is actually what some people will say is a bourgeois governance of this country. So it favors the rich. It favors the rich.
Never the poor.
Look at the roads. The roads have no transportation. What is the use of having roads without transportation?
Yeah.
So what is the use of having, electricity, in the kind of way that we have it, in such a way that it is so erratic that you will not even, you have made the cost of governance and the private sector so expensive in terms of energy expenses. You go to the budget, there is no effective implementation of budget. 2024 is being implemented at this point in time. 2025, 2026, and then they are preparing to do 2027 budget. None of them have been effectively implemented. So I find it difficult, to say that my party or my own government is doing as we were expected to do, for instance, on the 17th of January 2023. This renewed hope, has been put forward, that it has put in the expectation of the Nigerian people so high, to the extent that Asiaju is coming. Asiaju did extremely well in Lagos, and therefore we expect him. So it turned out to be that the Nigeria economy is a big shoe
for him,
for President.
Is it fitting in well?
No, it's too big for him, and
Okay.
I don't know whether it is that he couldn't factor in the kind of people that should have a national outlook, to the extent that the Nigerian people will trust whatever he is doing. So I think let me use the word quote and unquote. There is so much arrogance in the way the government of Asuaju is running the economy of this country.
Okay.
Alright.
Now, you made mention of subsidy payments, because according to this scorecard, it was about 15.8 trillion naira, that was saved from subsidy. And according to these ministers as well, he made mention of a few areas which this money was spent. First, he said that federal allocation was increased, and we do agree that the governors now receive way more money. In fact, from the last conversation we had with you here, you did point that out. They have way more money at their disposal than they would, previous years, which is one thing that they said the subsidy was now being channeled to. The state received. He also did say that the government received, I think, about 20% of that same amount. And then for agencies like NEL Fund, the money was being used, proceeds from crime and all other amounts of money was being channeled there just to champion the student loan and what have you. So in your opinion, do you think that there would have been a better way that this money would have been deployed, much more than what the finance minister has given to us now as an account of how that money was deployed?
Well, you say you have pumped so much money to the states and local government, but they have not seen it.
But the states do acknowledge that they also do have more money.
One thing is receiving the money,
Okay.
and another thing utilizing it for the benefit of the people of the state.
Okay. So is that the president's problem or the problem of the
It's
governors?
the president problem. I will tell you why.
Okay.
The president, we have always said there should have been a consultative and cooperative federalism.
Okay.
You cannot just carry money and begin to give states without a national effective administration of those funds. Yes,
Okay.
we know it's a federal structure. Give states money, but when you give them, how do you want them to use that money within the framework of the national budget? I'm not talking about federal budget. I'm talking about national budget. We have Fiscal Responsibility Commission. The Fiscal Responsibility Commission, is looking at both the federal, the state, and the local government. So for me, it is not that the subsidy is removed. So the purpose of the subsidy was just to pump money to the state for consumption, not for development, not for growth. I think that is where the big challenge is.
Okay.
So and on the other side, what is the use of giving scholarship to students without proper educational planning, in the sense that are the universities working in such a way that the students who collect the scholarship have conducive environment to work with? So you cannot just give students money and on the other side they are not studying well. So what is the use? So I think we need to look at whatever policy framework that we are doing. It should be holistic, not to say, well, we want to help parents, we want to support students, give them a loan so that they can now. Are they reading? Are they reading?
The environment conducive enough?
The environment is not conducive at all. Are the lecturers paid well? Are there materials in the universities? So there are so many things that need to be done for that effectiveness of the students' loan to be efficient.
Okay, so not just deployment of funds.
Not the deployment of funds. For what purpose? The funds are deployed, but in such a way that they are not useful.
But what do you think that NELFund in itself can do? Because NELFund is now the ones managing this sum of money that is being deployed by the government. And NELFund cannot build the institutions for the institutions that these students, are in. So what can be done to ensure that while the money is being given, the students also have a very conducive environment to learn?
That is why I say it should be holistic.
Okay.
It is not just you give money to students and then you expect that with the students now having scholarship, they will sit down and read and do. When there are no materials.
Okay.
So we need a total reform of our education system. Especially at high level. The lecturers are not how do I put it? They are not confident even in themselves in research and what have you. So you have this kind of difficult and challenging environment for even the students, the lecturers, and the administrators. So how will that scholarship thing help them?
Okay. More like a loan anyways from the federal government. So the students still will pay back that money. So it's not free money eventually.
Yes. And they are not using it, in my opinion, for the purpose for which they are meant for. Ask them, how many books are they buying with the kind of money they are giving them? Are the libraries, are reformed? Although now they say, we're on internet, everything. Go to some universities. Are their Wi-Fi even working? Are they provided, for the students? And what have you? So, in my own opinion, I think, before you do a policy, do a cost-benefit analysis and then see how it can link up, with the environment and make it so effective. Yes, so much money is being pumped to students' loans. But for me, how will they recover the money? How?
That's another conversation.
Okay, let's talk about another issue that was also spotlighted on the scorecard as presented by this administration. It reads that it reports a real GDP growth of 3.89% compared with the 2.31% at the May 2023 baseline. Now, how meaningful to you is this improvement in the context of the Nigeria's population growth?
Well, there might be growth, but there is no development. Pure and simple. So the welfare of the Nigerian people, as a result of increase in the GDP growth, is not reflected. So that is why sometimes, even from my own, angle, I read economics. Sometimes I find it difficult to see how reflective are these figures in terms of the welfare of the Nigerian people. So it is not just growth. So growth for development. So, but there's no development. Healthcare, education.
All right.
Even transportation. Like all this. So it is not reflective of the reality on the ground. Yeah, when you sit down in Abuja and they show you on television that good roads and what have you, but the good roads are only carrying expensive jeeps. So I mean, how are the expensive jeeps going to help the common man? So it is only that the common man's money is used to subsidize the luxury of the rich people of this country, and that is why the bane of the contention is it's not working.
So if you also look at pursue what Oyedele said in that regard, he said that the stabilization rather alone is not success, and that the next test is moving from reform to growth, which you've talked about: growth, investment, jobs, and productivity. So what does Nigeria need to do differently to make that transition now?
Well, first of all, like I said, let us agree. The naira value is low.
Of course.
Our naira is undervalued. Try to do, even purchasing power parity in other states. Take the fuel. They say when you remove the subsidy, they will not transport fuel out of this. The fuel in Cameroon, the price of fuel in Cameroon, Togo, Niger, is higher than that of Nigeria. So it has not solved that kind of problem. And because, they have not addressed the real issue. So the wholesome removal of subsidy, in my own opinion, I think it was a mistake.
Okay. All right. I'll talk a bit now on the no reform counterfactual. A huge part of this scorecard rests on one of the major things they have said is what could have happened if this reform did not happen. And according to their estimate, they say the debt profile would have risen to about 200%. States would have not been able to pay salaries, and a number of other things that were mentioned in the scorecard. Now, as a senator, you were, serving in the House at some point. So, as a senator, how would you evaluate a government that is making, that is scoring itself in its homework? They are the ones who have created this, I think, hypothetical situation right now. How would you speak about a government that, marks his own script?
Well, some people say that you like an agama lizard, it will shake itself that it has done well, even falling from the high level. The government is saying what it wants to say, but the reality on the ground is not reflective of what the government is saying they have achieved. So for me, even looking at from the relationship between the platform, that is the political party that brought the government, and then the reform anticipated or planned by the government of Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is conflicting. It's conflicting in the sense that the renewed hope agenda is in conflict with the political party manifesto. One example that I said is redistribution of income. When this administration came, they made a ministry that is called humanitarian.
Yeah.
And that was the bedrock of the social welfare, of the APC. But is it working now? Is it happening? All those things that we knew about, during the President Muhammad Buhari's time as the humanitarian, ministry was doing, all the welfare aspect of it. We don't hear it now. Go to states. You don't hear it. So I mean, even from that angle, the reform need to have been what do you call it, dovetail into the manifesto of the political party and not come with its own agenda. I read in one place where they say that we should replace APC, leave the flag, leave the broom, but put instead of APC, we should put a renewed hope,
Right.
Congress. So I mean, it's so devastating for me as a member, of APC, and it's also very, very challenging for me to think of what I'm going to tell my people, when I go for the campaign.
Campaign. Okay.
So I mean, we have to find, how to make these things, effective within a very short time. Although we have already started our campaign anyway, of course, according to the timetable of INEC. So, but
Senator,
it's a difficult thing to say.
Senator, I want to ask you like a personal question now, because you have pointed out some of the problems with this administration. And from your last comment, I think self-aggrandizement is one of the major things we see with a certain individual who just wants to outlive who he is and what he does by just making everything about him. After pointing all of this out, you're still willing to campaign for this person as a presidential candidate?
Why?
Yes, you're asking me why. With the hope, we are hoping that the kind of arrogance that is exhibited in the last 3 years, arrogance in the sense that when the people challenge the policies of government, the government insists that whether you like it or not, we are going to do it. Tax reform is a typical example. We are going to do it whether you like it or not. So without listening to the people, but I am an APC, so I am hoping that we are going to convince our people that, look, what has happened, it was a learning curve. So we are going to see how we are going to make it better in the second term.
What are you going to campaign with? Because this scorecard now...
Hope.
Hold on, Senator. This scorecard now is the government's representation of what they think has happened to the economy.
Right.
But the Minister of Finance also stood before the Ministerial Advisory Committee or Council, a few weeks ago. And he did make mention of the fact that all of these reforms, they look beautiful. He called it beautiful bureaucracy or something of that sort. They look good on paper, but none of this translates to the life of the common man. You have pointed this out today. What kind of hope do you want to sell to a people after 4 years of being in government? In fact, I would say that it's not stopping anytime soon with the campaign council that was set up. The tax man of our nation is handling the fundraising for the campaign of a president, which I do think is quite contradicting alongside many other Nigerians. What kind of hope do you want to sell to a people who live in abject poverty?
Okay, the hope is very simple.
Okay.
What Mr. President thought, how he would run the Nigerian economy, he found that style has not worked.
Okay.
So he has, APC and Mr. President has to change the style, and we must also admit the fact that errors were made. So since errors were made, how are we going to correct these errors? Is what we are going to campaign to the common man in this country. These errors were made, but this is the way we are going to put it forward in order to correct, either the errors or the mistakes that we have done. It is not just Mr. President alone. National Assembly is there. Our state houses of assembly, the governors are there. So the moment we now agree that we are going to reconstruct, how we consult among the 3 tiers of government, how we are going to cooperate, between the 3 tiers of government. I think once we put it forward, a credible, and a non-arrogant, you know, policy framework that we are going to do, and try to engage the common man.
Senator,
So that's the areas in which I think we have made mistakes. We have agreed we have made mistakes, and this is how we are going to correct the mistakes, for the betterment of the Nigerian people.
you sound as though these are still hopes, that you're hoping that these are the things that are going to be done, not like these are the strategies that are already put in place. They are not strategies yet, but based on hope. Should a country, should the people be voting based on hope rather than strategies, step-by-step guide on how to actually make better the situation that we're experiencing right now in our country, Nigeria?
Yes, strategies are good, but if you are hopeless on the strategies, how will they work?
But there has to be a strategy before you put on the hope.
No. You have to hope
before strategy.
That the strategies that you are putting will work. It's mindset.
Okay.
So, in my own opinion,
I think it can happen both ways. But
it can happen. Any
both
one
ways.
of them can come fast. But first of all, you must have confidence in yourself that what we are running today, is going to be, in economics, there's what they call, there's adaptive about expectation, theory of expectation. There's what they call adaptive expectation, and they are called rational expectations. If you go by adaptive expectation, then nobody will have hope in this country, but we will go by rational expectation that what has happened will be reviewed for the betterment of the future. So it is that rational expectation that is going to replace the adaptive expectation that we have
for the
past.
government. Okay, since you talked about rationality, adaptation, and what have you, is there like an independent National Assembly that is commissioned, independent National Assembly commissioned verification? I'm trying to get that, yes, commissioned verification of these counterfactual numbers, or is it the public that is being asked to just blindly trust the finance minister's modeling? Because these numbers were presented. Is there at any point where the National Assembly will come and do a verification of these numbers that are being given by the Minister of Finance, as ordered by the President?
Certainly, it is their role. It is the role of the National Assembly to oversight, the executive. So if the executive are churning out these figures, the National Assembly, should also sit down and say, well, let us look at these figures. Engage the executive, through oversight, through, other means, and then look at it. I'm sure there are so many of my colleagues that are a little bit disappointed, in the sense that the budgets have not been implemented the way they have been approved. So they are going to look at it, okay, if these things are not done, and these are the figures that are coming out, let us again engage, the executive. In my own opinion, what Mr. President could do is, look at, the kind of skills that he thought would work, didn't work, and what are the new skills that he's going to bring in, so that it can do well with the administration looking at the future. But certainly the National Assembly has a role, effective role, and they must look at these figures, vis-a-vis engaging, the executive.
Now, the minimum wage was one of the things pointed at at this scorecard, from 30,000 naira to 70,000 naira. When the Minister of Finance was talking, he mentioned that. But has that increase in minimum wage actually kept pace with the economic pressures being created by the reforms of this administration?
Well, I would say no, in the sense that, yes, you have increased from 30. What was the value of your naira when the minimum wage was 30? And then what is the value of the naira when the minimum wage is 70? It is matter of value.
Yeah.
It is, how it affects my life, and that is the value that we are talking about. How many people come to work today, even with the 70,000 in a month? How much will it do for a common man in terms of expenditure on the family, how much? You know, education, payment for education, fees for children, buying basic material. I said, whichever way we look at it, we must go back to the fundamentals. We must see how are we going to improve the value of our naira, so that the welfare value of the Nigerian people can be improved. We cannot continue to go like this and thinking that we bear the short-term cost, hoping to have a long-term benefits. We cannot. For how long will that be? How long will that be? So to be honest, I feel challenged, personally, and as a member of APC, I feel challenged. I sympathize with Mr. President. Mr. President certainly is not getting the kind of, things he expected to have. But as they say, everything drops on his table. So he has to defend whatever is happening, whether it's right or wrong. But he has to be extremely, extremely cautious in terms of the people that are churning advices to him. But the two, three things that has happened, they are able to uncover, what do you call it,
fake agencies.
Fake agencies, yes, maybe ICPC did well, and that, but uncovering, what are they doing about the uncovering? Mr. President, he said, well, okay, where his chief of staff is involved, and he did not even wait for investigation. He said that he believed in his chief of staff. So you see, sometimes these are quite contradictory, from Mr. President. If I were Mr. President, I'll keep quiet, or at best I say, well, chief of staff, you are my man, you are my boy, you are my, step aside. When they finish the investigation, we look at it, because it is all confidence. If the Nigerian people, the people that are going to vote, do not have confidence, then we are going to have a big task as well. So I think this is where answering your question is that the National Assembly must revisit these figures, must investigate these figures, and they should do it as members of the parliament and not even as members of APC.
But at your time in the House, do you think this is something that was done? Because you used the analogy of an agama lizard. This is literally what we see. In fact, they've been called rubber stamp many times because investigations, and I'll go back to the fake agency that you spoke about. There were processes for this to be found out, especially when you got to the House before the budget. It was never discovered there, and other things that would have been done, checks and balances, So for the fake agencies to even exist, I don't think members of the House are fully aware of the ministries, departments, and agencies that are in Nigeria in general. So do you think this same House have the capacity to question the president on these counterfactual figures that were presented by the finance minister?
They have the capacity, but they are not utilizing the capacity.
Okay.
So if they are not utilizing the capacity, it's as good as they do not have the capacity. So, but in my own opinion, like I've always answered this question of rubber stamping. People did not vote the National Assembly to come and fight the executive. They vote the National Assembly to come and sit down with the executive. During our own time, there was a concrete involvement in terms of discussions between the executive, the legislature, the party, and also, the few elders to look at it. How are these things, going to be done? I don't know whether it is being done now, because during late Abba Kyari, Abba Kyari does not go to sleep until he has concrete discussions with the Senate President, with the Speaker House of Representatives, to see what are you going to do, how is it going to happen, what bills are they coming up, what motions are they coming up, so that, they can sit down and have a good harmony. So it is not, my own thing is that it is not just APC, 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 APC. So you can have, you know, the whole house to be APC. And then what is APC Senate churning out for the betterment of the Nigerian people?
All right. All right, Senator. We are going to continue with the conversation just in a moment, but right now let's go on a break. And when we come back, we continue with X-raying the scorecard of the reforms of this administration. Just stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. You're still watching the big conversation right here on Rapid Television, and we've been speaking with Senator Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf, a former lawmaker and an elder statesman, and we've been talking about the scorecard of this administration thus far. But again, coming to you, Senator, let's look at the scorecard once more, basically, because we've talked about it for quite some time now. But from your experience as a former lawmaker as well, if you remove the government's projection of what Nigeria would have looked like without the reforms and look only at actual outcomes, what does the scorecard say about the performance of the administration totally?
Well, in terms of, if you want me to put numbers, I don't think the administration has a pass mark. Let's put it that way. However, that does not mean that it has not done some things that are good. And that does not mean that, you know, it has not learned its lessons, and that does not mean that it will not project for a better future for Nigeria. Now, two major things that the president did when he came into power that has ripple, you know, damaging effects on the Nigerian people is just the removal of the subsidy and the adjustment of the value of the naira. These are the two things. Any other thing that came, you know, it came as a result of how to manage these two things. So, and then trying to do that coming from the point of view of what am I going to do to dampen the effect of the removal of subsidy. Like I said, in my opinion, it shouldn't have been wholesome. It should have been
gradual.
And then he should have even waited, in my own opinion, he should have waited. Let me have my own executive council. Let me sit down with them. Let me see what they have. And then let me carry my executive council, and not to carry my executive council to move with the reform. Rather than the reform first, and then you are imposing on the executive council whether they know how to do it or they don't know how to do it, whether they like to do it or that's the arrogance that I'm talking about. So whether without removal of the subsidy, Nigeria would have done better, in my own opinion, I would say yes.
Okay.
If they have not removed the subsidy, you know, in my own opinion, Nigeria would have done better, because we would have been a more productive and more efficient in terms of, you see, it is not the removal of subsidy, it is not the subsidy that is the issue. Managing and implementing the subsidy, that is the issue.
Okay.
So with the 10 point something, or with the 15 trillion savings from the subsidy, we have not seen it on the ground. That's what the Nigerian people are saying. So if it has been done well, to the extent that it has generated, you know, productivity, you know, a lot of production, or it can even be used to subsidize our exports.
Right.
You know, to provide window for the Nigerian manufacturing, you know, to produce, you know, more exports to earn us more foreign exchange. Now we are relying on diaspora money that is coming in, you know, to increase, you know, the foreign inflow. You know, in my opinion, you know, it has not even been managed in the way it should be managed. For me, if somebody is bringing his money and immediately you give him the dollar. He brings in dollar, you give him the dollar. What is this? When he brings in his dollar, I give him the naira. Why are you giving him the dollar again? So when you give him the dollar, he recycle and then push it back. So I think it is the managing of those things that they ought to have done very, very well. The monetary policy, yes, one way or the other, the CBN, is trying, its best in the sense that, it is trying to stabilize the naira. But my question has always been, why stabilize at 1,400, 1,500 rather than stabilizing at 500 naira per dollar?
Okay.
Okay.
So, is that possible?
It's possible. It's possible. You are managing your resources well. Why not?
Okay.
Why don't we have, why are we not generating foreign exchange through our production capacity in the country for export? Why are we not doing that? We talked about agriculture earlier on. How much of our agricultural production how much are we protecting the export of our crude oil? We have spent about, is it 17 trillion? If I remember
Fixing
very well.
the refinery.
They call it security of the, how they call it, the security of the pipelines. You are spending 17 trillion. And then how
No
much
output.
benefit are you getting out of it? Has it improved the production and the export of our crude oil? Has it?
All right.
Refineries are not working, and they are all government refineries.
Right.
So you have refineries that are not working. So and how do you put these things together? We have one massive refinery. Today some people are saying that, oh no, it is monopolistic. Some people are saying, well, even if monopolistic, he has done well. At least we have fuel in this country today. There are no queues. Yes, but what is the value of the welfare value of Nigeria when we had queues compared to when we do not have queues?
Okay. Well, I know we've spoken a bit about oil and gas and so many other sectors, but popular opinion after the scorecard was released is the fact that a scorecard is supposed to be all-encompassing. It's supposed to talk about different areas in the government, but it is as though the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has shied away from every other aspect to focus only on the economy. And we forget that right now, the scorecard doesn't mention that Nigerians worsening ranking on the global terrorism. We moved from it was about 8 in 2023. In 2025, it was 6 in 2023, it became 8. In that number, right now, we're ranked fourth in the world. So it is as though nothing is being done about these other areas. It is about the economy. The security of the people is not important. So now, should an honest reform not include every other thing?
Exactly.
As it should?
I said every policy of government, should be holistic in nature. And we have to have, our better planning system. Even our budget system, I said the other day here that we budget before we plan. That is the envelope system. Why can't we have the zero budgeting system? So that you involve from day one, how you are going to budget. Why envelope system? So much money has been borrowed, so much money has been saved, so much money has been earned. The Nigerian people are saying they have not seen it. That is it. If you say, okay, there are roads, fine. The few roads that we have seen on the ground. But like I said, the purpose of road is to transport. So if you have good road and nothing to transport, of what benefits are the roads? So if you have refineries that are not refining, of what benefit do you have the refineries? If you have, a transmission company that is not transmitting electricity, of what use is that transmission company? So there are so many. You say you have civil service. What kind of civil service do you have that is not producing public goods that are supposed to be produced the way they should be produced? So there are so many ifs and so many, adjustments that need to be done. Mr. President needs to further tighten up his belt. And if he assumed it was easy when he came in, now he knows that it is very, very difficult and challenging task ahead. And therefore, he should buckle up his shoes, He should tighten off his belt. For me, what Mr. President would have done at this point in time, I mean, he shouldn't rely on only his civil servants. He should rely on, there are so many brands outside. There are so many lawyers giving different advices. And if you say, I mean, I listened to Abakoba. I mean, he's done well. He has said well, but all what he has said, has not been appreciated. So if you have people who have brains, who have seen it all, who are giving advices to the government people, and the government people are saying, no, forget about that one. He's an all horse. So I think, these are areas that he needs to bring these people, bring them in, and then sit down with them. They have seen it all. They can give you advice. They can tell you what you do not want to hear. The other day, the church, the Catholic Church,
the bishops,
they told him, yes, Mr. President, you think you are doing well. You are not doing well. We are on the ground. And he felt offended. He shouldn't have. If you are going to be told the truth and you feel offended, then you shouldn't have been, in that leadership.
Senator, finally from my end here, what is going to constitute the failure of this administration or the success from this point forward?
Now the failure. You see, whatever you do in democracy, you must allow opposition. You must allow them to say whatever they want to say, whatever they want to do. You can even learn from opposition and say, oh, this opposition is telling me something, or that we have not looked at it the way it should be. So they must align, with the opposition. Align in the sense that, sit down. I mean, there's no reason why, all the major political parties cannot have their people sitting together and seeing how they are going to, because the manifestos, the constitutions of all the political parties in this country are virtually the same. So they should. So if Mr. President, in my opinion, wants to move ahead very much, they should engage, people outside the administration to come and tell Mr. President the truth, tell the administration the truth, and therefore, learn from it. If it doesn't do that, it will be challenging.
Okay.
On the success side, we have learned our lessons, and we are now going to use rational expectation. We rationalize the past, rationalize the present, and then see how we are going to move forward using, unappreciative tools. For instance, in APC, many APC members are frustrated for one way or the other because they feel that, we will not use this guy, we will not use the other guy, we will not use this and that and that. If you look at, that's why the campaign council membership, is also becoming challenging. If you have the chief revenue officer of the country, is the country, is not for APC.
Right.
And you are saying that he's a member. I think there's something that is not working well there. So it is just, in my own opinion, how they will move forward for success is to rationalize and say, this is what we have done has not worked. This is what we are going to do. We are going to involve, more people, more knowledgeable people, that we have people like Okonjo-Iweala and the rest of them. For God's sake, they have seen it all. She's an international, product. Engage her, bring her in. Use the locals too, bring them in. And they see, so that they can tell you the truth and tell you this is the way it should go and not the way you are thinking of. So if they bring such, there will be a lot of success.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator Yusuf Abubakar, for your time with us on the big conversation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. I mean, quite an insight there.
All right, back to myself and Martha. Martha?
I think the senator has said everything that there is
Very
to say.
true.
You know, learn from your mistakes. That would be the way forward. And, you know, allow an opposition, because it's looking as if the necks of the opposition is being stiffened, or it is as though they are being suffocated by the government of the day. It's important. That's what democracy is about. You know, people being allowed to air their views, and, you know, not wanting an opposition is just a bad indication for your government as well. But yes, it's important you learn. But the question would be if the Nigerian people would trust this government, whether they would learn from their mistakes or they would continue on the path that they've charted for themselves.
Very true. And of course, the people that give the scorecard the most are the citizens of the nation. If the reforms of the administration is not affecting their lives positively, then one would want to say that there are some questions that the administration would need to answer. But that being said, this is all we're going to be taking on this edition of Rapid Done this morning. Do remember that you can follow us on our stream that is across our platform at Rapid TV. And you can get to watch our episodes on YouTube at Official Rapid TV. www.arabianradiotv.com is our website. Wherever you are in the world, you can get to watch us live using that website. And also, we have a new addition, which is the Free TV. We are live on the Free TV. All you need to do is to download the Free TV app on your Android or iOS phone. And of course, just search for Rapid Television. Now we're going to be right there with you every step of the way. My name is Victor. Okay.
My name is Martha Alu. Thank you for joining us today. We will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.